He led BYU to 550 rushing yards, the most in the game in BYU history. He has been named Player of the Week by numerous sources of multiple occasions, such as Capital One Player of the Week, AT&T All-American Player of the Week, the Manning Player of the Week, and CBS Sports Offensive Player of the Week. He threw for 417 yards, including 4 touchdowns, and ran for 128 yards in the win against Houston, one of the 7 players in the NCAA history to throw for more than 400 yards and run for more than 100 in a game. In the Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl, with 133 rushing yards in the loss to Washington, Hill rushed for more yards than any other quarterback in school history. He set a new school record for the most rushing yards with 133 and carries of 33 in a bowl game. He was named the All-Independent First Team by College Sports Madness and named Independent Offensive Player of the Year by College Sports Madness, and finished the season ranked number 3 in BYU history for the most rushing yards in one season with 1,344 yards. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce my baby brother, Taysom Hill.
Thank you, Celeste. She is my sister, so don't believe everything she says. It's not all true. I will say the part about me being dressed up as a girl, it has turned out to benefit me because I've been able to relate to girls a little bit better, I would say. So I was able to convince now my fiance Emily to marry me. So thank you, Celeste. But I am grateful to be here. I'm excited to speak to you guys. It's a new opportunity for me. And I know that you guys go through a lot of hard times, knocking doors. And I don't have experience doing door-to-door salesman, selling pest control, but as mentioned, I did serve a 2-year mission. And so I know what it's like walking the streets, getting rejected, and having to pick yourself back up. I don't know how many Utah State fans that are here today. Hopefully you'll be able to get past me playing for BYU and can listen to things that I have to say. I do see a Utah State sweatshirt over here. It's funny, as we were talking about, as Lenny mentioned, the hard times going through door-to-door sales and being rejected and not having any sales one day and having to pick yourself back up and go back out and sell. I remembered an experience I had this past season as we went and played Utah State. We just took the field, we're warming up, and for some reason we warmed up right in front of the Utah State student section. And I don't know if you guys have been to that stadium or been a part of that crowd. I don't know, but it gets pretty rowdy. So I'm warming up. I'm literally right on the sideline. I'm probably, you guys are here, and I'm warming up right here, and their entire student section is chanting at me, "Taysom sucks," clapping, "Taysom sucks." And they carried on for probably 4 minutes or so as I was warming up. And luckily we were able to win that game, so it didn't work out too well for them. So, anyways, I know how that goes. I know what it's like to not be liked, and to have people yelling at you and everything else. And so hopefully through some of those experiences, I can relay the things that I've learned through that to you guys and help you through your summer selves. But I wanted to quickly start off by talking a little bit about goals. I'm a strong believer in goals, and I believe that that's probably a big part of summer sales, management level, all the way down to if you're a first-year salesman. Now, where's Joe? Joe, can you come up here for a second? Does everybody know who Joe is? Okay. Have you guys ever played basketball or ever seen him do anything athletic at all?
No.
No, you haven't? Is he not very athletic?
No, he is.
I know he had a basketball game. You play basketball, right? And he said yes, by the way, if you couldn't hear him. Now, would you say you'd be able to touch the rim? Yeah. You can touch the rim? Can you dunk? Nope. You can't dunk. Okay, so I'm guessing you can probably, you've got at least a, would you say, 28-inch vertical? Is that too generous? On a good day. So if I was to hold my hand up, maybe about this high, do you think you'd be able to jump over it? No. What about like this? Okay. What if we jump over my hand now? Can you get it?
Yeah, no. That'd be so funny if he tripped on his hand.
He could have jumped higher than that. Okay, thanks, Joe. I know this exercise is a little silly, but I think oftentimes we set the bar too low for ourselves. Joe certainly could have jumped higher, and he did jump higher than my hand. But we don't set goals that stretch us. I remember growing up when I was a kid, luckily I was the youngest of 4 kids, and every one of my siblings went on to play college sports. So I had 2 older brothers. One played at Arizona State, another one started at JUCO and finished at Dixie, and then my sister went on to play college basketball. So as the youngest of that family, I went to all their sporting events. I competed with them. I was 3 years younger than my sister and 6 years younger than my next older brother, and I hated losing to them. Didn't matter what it was. I remember I'd beg my brother, Dexter, to go and play basketball in the front yard, and he would beat me. He's 6 years older than me. I'm probably 10 years old playing a kid that's 16, and I would run in the house mad the rest of the night and wouldn't talk to him. But I'm also really grateful for that because that stretched me. That helped me get where I'm at now. Helped me when I was a young man as I was playing in high school and junior high and all those things, get to where I was. And I always had a goal to play college sports. And it's fun to be able to stand in front of you guys here today now and to say that that was one of my goals, and to stand here and say I'm now living and I've now achieved my goal. Now at the time, Pocatello was a small town, 60,000. It's not very big. Not a lot of people had opportunities to go play college football. And so when I would tell people that, it was kind of like, really? You really think you're going to go play at a Division I university and have the opportunity to play and compete there? And so I set the bar high. But whenever trials came, when I was faced with adversity, it's kind of what I resorted to. So I'd ask you guys to really think about not only your goals for summer cells, I think that's really important, but I'm sure you're doing summer cells because you have other goals in your life. I have some friends that do summer cells, and I've had many conversations with them, and it always resorts back to, well, yeah, I can go work really hard in the summer, but it's going to get me ahead in life. I'm going to be able to make a pretty good lump sum of money in a short time and help you achieve other goals. So I hope that you guys always remember those things, because I know that that's something that got me to where I'm at today, as I was faced with adversity. So when those days do come, when you don't sell any, you can resort back to that. Resort back to what you know and what you want to happen in the future in your life. So remember that. Another way I like to think about goals is a question that I was asked actually on my first date with my fiance. And I want to share it with you and ask you the same question, because it really allowed me to think about where I was and what really allowed me to get here. I can't tell or talk about my first date with my fiance without sharing a story. She's going to be a little embarrassed, so I'll apologize. But she's the youngest, she's number 9 of 10 kids. And she comes from a pretty athletic family. She had an older brother that played college football at BYU, Dave Nixon, for those of you who follow BYU sports. So she was familiar with it. She was used to watching sports, saw her older brothers play. He went on to play in the NFL for a few years. And so we're out having dinner, and she's trying to impress me a little bit with her football knowledge. And we get into the conversation, we're talking about it. Next thing I know, she says, yeah, I know football. I was raised, I watched Dave and some of the other siblings play. Like, I know what an offensive charge is. And she's thinking, you guys laugh because, you know, football, and there's no such thing as an offensive charge in football. That's basketball. So we always have a good laugh about that. And she has since, you know, been corrected and hasn't made that mistake, and nor will she live it down. So it's all right. But anyways, when we were having this dinner, she asked me a question, and she probably didn't think much of it, but it's something that's had a big impact on me. And she asked what I was passionate about. And I would ask you guys the same thing. What is your passion? And maybe it's door-to-door sales. I don't know. But I would suspect that your passion is something else. And you're doing summer sales to help you achieve and help you reach one of your other passions. So I'd ask you to think about that, because when those times of troubles and difficulties of knocking doors and being rejected comes, that's something you can resort back to. That's something that I've always resorted back to when I have, you know, however many thousand fans, students chanting that I'm an awful person and player. You know, those are things that you can laugh about and move on and use it as motivation to continue to get better. So I'd invite you to think about that. You know, it's interesting. I was speaking at BYU the other day, and I was speaking to about 1,200 sixth graders. And the moral and theme of the event was Sports Hero Day. And we're talking about heroes and everything else. And I think what you guys are doing is heroic. I don't think it's easy to go out and knock door-to-door sales and do all those things to achieve some of your other goals. I think a hero is somebody that knows what their passion is, and they go and do everything that they possibly can to achieve it. I think a hero is trying to be the best at whatever it is that they do. And that is my message to you guys today, to be the best you that you possibly can. When you guys go on the summer, go be the best salesman that you possibly can be. And one best is going to be different than another person's best. So don't compare yourself to another person that's selling maybe twice as much as you. Now that's not to excuse that there's not things that you can learn from them, because, you know, I'm not as good as Peyton Manning, but there are certainly things that I can learn from Peyton that he does really well. And I think it's easy to get discouraged. You know, if I was to look at Peyton and to compare myself to him, it's not really fair to me either. But there are certainly things that I can learn from him. And I would encourage you guys to, as you work to become the best salesman, you know, the best whatever it is you do, to look to those around you that you can get advice from, that you can lean on for support. Now, there are some experiences that I've had in my life that have been unique to me, that have been difficult, and, you know, I'm going to get pretty personal. I hope that's okay. But I think that it's something that we can learn from. Now, I have a little video that we're going to show in just a minute, but you can come up and get it ready if you want. I want to preface it a little bit. It's really short, and I felt like showing this would be a lot easier than trying to describe it and tell you about it. So when I was in high school, this is my senior year, I've committed to play for Stanford, and we're playing our rival high school, Pocatello High School. They're a division lower than us, and this is like their Super Bowl. They would rather beat Highland, the school that I played for, than go play in the state championship game in their division. And basically what their coach had said was, if Taysom was playing, we weren't going to win the game. And so he tried to take me out. And that's what this video is. It's short. We'll show it a couple times because it'll take you a minute to realize what's happening. But I also played kicker when I was in high school. Okay, so this is the opening kickoff of the football game. So I'm standing on the hatch. I'm right in the middle, just off the hatch, getting ready to kick the ball. And I don't remember exactly which player it is. It's either one of the two bottom guys. I want you to watch him and then watch me who's kicking the ball. He's going to play. Yeah, it's called Taysom Gets Rocked, if you guys are curious, on YouTube. I'll look it up afterwards. So, it should be pretty easy to remember. But the reason why I look to this video, and honestly, when this first happened, there would have been no way that I would have been able to stand in front of a crowd and talk about it, because it was really hard for me. And I want you guys to think about me as a young man. I was 18 years old. I had this goal my entire life to go play college football. And finally, as a senior in high school, you know, I'd committed. I was going to go to Stanford. I'd seen these goals come to pass. I had this opportunity. And I was on cloud 9. We were having a good season so far. Things were going really well. And I had worked really hard to get to where I was. Next thing I know, we're getting ready to play a rival school. Our stadium's packed. A lot of tension in the stadium, on the field, and everything else that leads up to a rival game. Opening kickoff, I get hit. I got hit. I got a knee that went right in between my thigh and knee pad. I had a dead leg for the rest of the game. It was a helmet to helmet, so my head was a little spinning. But I had too much pride to stay down. So I quickly got up. I started on defense that game. I played the whole game, but I didn't enjoy it at all. It was probably one of the hardest games that I had to play. I had one of their coaches running up and down the sideline, yelling profanities at me, telling me I sucked and that they were going to kill me, and all of these things. I'm a young man, 18 years old, having all this thrown at me. And for so long, I loved playing football. But that game, they took all of the fun out of it. I was kind of in the fog. I wasn't really there for my teammates and everything else. We ended up winning the football game. And after the game, I was pretty quiet. We just beat a rival school. Everybody met us back at the high school, and they're ready to celebrate. They want to party and hang out and stuff, and that was the last thing I wanted to do, because I felt like I was targeted. That I hadn't done anything wrong, hadn't done one bad thing to their head coach, but yet he was coaching his players to come and purposely take me out. And I felt like it was a personal attack, and during that game, I would imagine that I felt what you guys feel when you just finish a day and you have 0 cells. I got a call shortly after the game from one of my teachers that I was really close with, and she called me and she was livid. She was so mad, couldn't believe that this had just happened. And I relied on her, I relied on my parents and everything else to continue to push through. Now luckily, there was no serious injury or anything like that because of it, but the thing that got me through it were the goals that I had already mentioned. The things that I was passionate about. I was passionate about playing football and being as good as I possibly could. And because of that, I continued to move on. I quickly got over it, and we won state that year in Idaho, my senior season, after this had happened. And I used that, kind of as motivation, that, we were kind of able to rub that in their school space a little bit. And I know that's probably not the best way to look at it, but sometimes you need to do what you have to do to get through those hard days. And that's why I wanted to start by talking about goals, start of talking about passions. Because once you find that, and once you have that concrete, you'll be able to get through any of these things, any of these hard times. And I've seen that over and over again. As I served the mission, as I've been here at BYU, played my freshman year, played my sophomore year, because there's been a lot of tough times that I've had to push through. And I want to go into that a little bit. As I mentioned, I want to focus a little bit on, my freshman year and how I was able to overcome that injury. I think that needs a little bit of preface because that was also a hard time. We were playing Utah State. I was a freshman and I had just been home from my mission for about 6 months. I got home in December. I guess it was about 8 months from our first game. And I was able to play in all 6 games. Riley Nielsen got hurt, and I was able to come in and play. And I played okay and played pretty well. And so I was able to continue to play. We beat Hawaii in my first start as a freshman, and then we beat Utah State my second start. But it was 6-3, and we had the ball. We just gotten a first down, and we could have knelt on the ball. The game would have been over. Well, there was a miscommunication, and instead of me being sent in our victory formation from the sideline, they kept the personnel that was on the field at the time, and we called and ran another play. Well, after that play, I planted, my foot was in the ground, and I received the helmet shoulder pad straight on my knee, which caused my bicep femoris tendon. I'm getting technical on you guys, I know. But this tendon right here that comes in from your hamstring that attaches on the outside of your knee, because of the force of the hyperextension, it caused that tendon to pop off my bone. So needless to say, I was out for the season, had to have surgery, and started the whole recovery thing. So I had the surgery, felt really confident with my doctor. He did a great job. But there are a lot of things that I had to work to overcome. First of all, as a freshman, I mentioned the goals that I had as a young man to play college football, and I had the opportunity to finally play. And I can't describe that feeling to you guys as I saw that dream and that goal come to pass. One of the best moments of my life as I entered the field as we played Washington State, the opening game as a freshman. And then to see all of that taken, it was all gone. And I went from starting to not traveling with the team. I sat on the couch of my parents' house and watched BYU play Notre Dame. Notre Dame, the team that I grew up watching, a game that was circled on my calendar as I entered that season, and I wasn't able to be there. And it was really difficult. And as hard as the physical aspect to overcome an injury like that was, the hardest part for me was the mental aspect and getting back to where I am now. And that's what I want to mention and talk about briefly. But the hardest thing for me was feeling that I was a part of the team, feeling like I could help the team, feeling that I could do things to help us get better. And for the first 3 or 4 weeks or so, there wasn't a whole lot that I did. I was in a cast that started here and ran down to my ankle. Wasn't able to walk or move my leg for 3 weeks. And it was really difficult. I remember having a conversation with Chad Lewis, who works at BYU now. And I want to share briefly a little of his experience that he shared with me. He sent me an email, and I have part of it I want to read to you. He goes, I tore my left ankle catching a touchdown pass to seal a victory that sent the Eagles to the Super Bowl. I knew the second it happened that they were going to the Super Bowl and also that I would not be playing. It was quite a feeling. It is a feeling that few people can relate to. I think that you can relate to it more than most. But the reason I share that is because I also think that that's something that each of you can relate to. It's hard to dedicate a summer when, your friends or your family are all having fun, or, boating or whatever it is, and you guys are waking up and going door to door, trying to get ahead in life, trying to make some money, whatever it is, the reasoning behind why you guys do what you do. And it's difficult. And I think you need to realize, even on those bad days, what can we do better? I remember having this conversation with Chad, and he finally sat me down and he said, well, I agree. You need to pick a day that you can just forget about it all. Maybe it's a week from now, maybe it's a couple days, maybe it's 2 weeks. Whatever the case may be, pick a day that you can think about everything that happened, ask yourself all these questions that you want to ask, and then choose a day to forget about it. And so that's what I did. And then he began to tell me that, and instead of worrying about the things that you can't do, I know you can't travel with the team. I know you can't play right now. I know you can't run. I know you can't lift. You can't do all these things. But there's also many things that you can do. And that is, I can control how much time I spend watching film. I can control how much time I spend rehabbing my knee. I can control a lot of things that will allow me to get better. And that's what I did. I worked really hard to get back for spring ball last football season and get into a new offense, which ultimately led to some of the success that I was able to have as a sophomore. So that's my encouragement, you guys, is to, on those days where you just feel like you can't do anything right and everyone's turning you down, worry about the things that you can control. You can't necessarily control if somebody's had a bad day and you knock on the door and it makes it worse. You can't control that. But you can control how many people you talk to, how hard you work, and your enthusiasm for your job. And as you do, you will be successful. And I've seen it in my life, and I see it on a daily basis, and I know that you guys will be able to see the same results. Now, I want to leave a little bit of time for questions. I think we have about good. Okay, I want to just conclude with one little story. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have heard of Dan Clark, but he was one of my professors at BYU. He writes the Soul for Food books. I don't know if you guys have read these, but he gave me this book after my injury, and I wanted to read a quick story from it that he shares. It is an athletic story, that I think we can relate to. And it's called The Magic in Us All. The Los Angeles Lakers and the Philadelphia 76ers were battling it out in a 7-game NBA championship series. In the 6th game, the great and overpowering center for the Lakers, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was hurt. He had a migraine and a torn ankle. He wasn't able to make the trip to Philadelphia for the final championship game. It was a devastating blow to the Lakers. The players lost hope of winning the championship, but instead of making excuses, the Lakers head coach decided to make some adjustments. He knew they were winners and that they'd come too far to lose. The coach, Pat Riley, took a 20-year-old rookie and moved him from his guard position to center. That adjustment was tough enough for the 6'8" guard, but when he went up against Daryl Dawkins, a massive muscle and intimidation who shattered backboards and opposing center just for kicks, and who stood 3 inches taller, the rookie was terrified. That young player's name was Earvin Magic Johnson, and he showed his genius that night. He scored 42 points, grabbed 15 rebounds, and earned the MVP trophy for leading the Lakers to victory. Earvin Johnson is another example of the magic we all have within. We can rise to the occasion when the need is there. I wanted to close with that because I do believe that you guys have a unique opportunity and experience of working and having the opportunity to go door to door for Vantage. And my message is to take full advantage of it. That as you work hard, you'll be able to have no regrets, and you'll be able to get to where you're going. Bronco, Coach Mendenhall, and if he ever smiled. The easier question, I've seen him smile a couple of times, but not many. He's a pretty serious guy, and he has fun in his own place. So, with that being said, I love Coach Mendenhall. And yes, there's been a lot of lessons that I've learned from Coach Mendenhall. And I think Coach Mendenhall has taught me how to get the most out of myself. So Coach Mendenhall is big on designing things that test your will. And I think because of that, I've been able to see the character inside of myself and sort of expectations that I can achieve for myself. So I hope that answers your question. Yep, up in the back.
How do you clear your head after you throw an interception?
Good question. That's a good question. I hope the cameras, I'm sure, automatically go to my face when I throw an interception. They always seem to do that. But I know that, so I don't say anything bad. But honestly, I don't think about it. I learned what I did wrong. You know, if I was fooled by a coverage that the defense gave me, I talk to my receivers if there's a miscommunication, and then I move on. You know, there are times where, you know, that's harder than others. You know, there's times where an interception at a point in the game is changes all the momentum, like we've talked about. But I also know that my team needs me, so I do my best not to show any negative emotion because it's contagious. So I learn from it, and then I push it away, and I don't allow that to get into my head as I continue to play. Yep.
Do you ever Tebow?
Do I ever Tebow? What do you mean?
Pray on the field?
I do. I was asked if I had a Tebow. But no, I know the pose that you're talking about. I've never done the pose or pray on the field, but yeah, I've said prayers on the field before. Yeah.
Who is your hero or inspiration, and why?
Good question. Honestly, I would say growing up, I would say my oldest brother, Jordan. He was a kid that I watched go through high school, be really successful in school as well as athletics, serve a mission, and then he played at Arizona State for 4 years and had a great career there. And you know, now he has a family and he's a great husband and father. And so I think because of those things, in my eyes, he epitomizes being the best at being himself. He's taken advantage of the opportunity that he's been given, and he's a happy man. So that's who first came in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're down at halftime in a game, what do you tell your teammates, or what do you do to like go out and show that momentum? Like Lenny was talking about, what's your strategy?
We have so much.
Momentum and go back out.
Sorry, smart.
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, you know, I take a lot of ownership as far as playing quarterback.
To try to keep up with them.
I work as hard as I possibly can, and especially at halftime, I meet with the coaches and we talk about the things that are going well and the things that aren't, and we make sure that we address the things that aren't going well, and we continue to build upon the things that are going well. And so I talk to my guys individually. You know, I think there's some guys on the team that are more key than others, and I encourage them. I talk to them about the things that they see on the field, so they feel that their opinion matters, and we address that, and then we build upon it. So, but I always do my best to stay motivated and enthusiastic, but playing from behind is not an easy thing. And, you know, we just stay positive and continue to play as hard as we can. How are we doing for?
Let's just do let's do 3 more questions, then we'll be done.
Okay, right here in front.
Have you seen any like other huge injuries other than the one with the I asked
Okay. He asked if I've taken any other injuries, but yes, you can talk to my friends and my family after every game. Sunday morning is a torture to get out of bed. So I have taken a lot of injuries. After the Houston game, I think we played like 138 plays, which, you know, is almost nearly 2 games. So After that game, yeah, I was beat up, and it's a struggle. I don't know. Does that answer your question, or is there more to it? Okay. Yep. Middle.
What's your proudest moment in BYU football?
Since I've been there?
Yeah.
Honestly, I would say that the Houston game that I was a part of, just the game as a whole, offensively, I think everybody played extremely well, and they played extremely hard. And so I think that was the most gratifying feeling that I've had this season, just because of how hard we had to work and playing from behind, coming back, and scoring a touchdown with a minute left, and then being able to share that as Alani Flua had that interception at the end of the game to seal it. So, yep.
Have you ever regretted not going to Stanford?
No, I haven't. I think that's one of those things that was clear in my mind when I made the decision, and so I don't allow myself to really think about it. I think that it would be fun. There are people that would ask me, do you wish you could be playing in the Rose Bowl right now for Stanford? But again, I don't allow myself to think about it, and I like to see them succeed as well. I still have some friends down there. So, we're good. Thank you, guys.
Big round of applause for Taysom. Seriously.